Welcome, Solara here. Happy new moon in Taurus. I'm here to give you your full moon tarot astrology ascension report. I am a few hours behind, and my apologies for being so, but it actually fits very much into the theme of this new moon in Taurus. Did I say new moon or full moon? I meant new moon. Anyway, before I get into that, I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. Welcome if you are visiting for the first time. Welcome if you are returning, whether you are a subscriber, whether you just tune in. Quick disclaimer, I am not for everyone. If you have an issue with my message, the way I speak, the way I tune into astrology, anything you have an issue with me for, I really don't mind. But you can make the autonomous choice to go somewhere else. It's really important right now that we stay around beings that we are frequently in alignment with, for the purpose of harmonizing ourselves higher into our own home frequency and truth. So if I irk your soul or I rub you the wrong way, I apologize. But I'm sure you can find this information, if it's for you, coming through from a being who you are a frequential match for. So please don't leave your comments in the section. I don't tolerate rudeness anyway. I will say what I need to say in response also. So yes, and I add that second part because there was a person last time who was really very, very rude. And the thing about Taurus season, we're going to get into the reading now. The thing about Taurus season that many beings aren't fully aware of if they don't follow astrology, and even some of us who do, because the deeper I go on my journey, the more these things become obvious to me, and they weren't before also, and that is that whenever the sun is in a sign, you're also dealing with the shadow energies of that sign, but you're also dealing very strongly and powerfully with the underpinning energies of the sister sign throughout the sun's duration in the sign. So although we had the full moon in Scorpio 2 weeks ago, there's a lot of scorpionic themes coming up right now. And in all frankness, that number 8, 2024, funnily enough, I'm looking at my at the chart now and I realize it's the 8th of May, so I just said the number 8. The number 8 is a scorpionic number. When you're speaking of astrology, 8 is tied to Scorpio energy, and 2024 being the year that is connected also to the number 8 means that it is a year of profound transformation that is necessary not only internally but also collectively in order to bring forth what we're heading into moving forward as a collective. 2024 is also about alchemizing a lot of what was shown and we've been through since the nodes switched spaces into the Taurus-Scorpio axis. I believe it was in 2022. And I was actually just on a walk with my daughter and I was just like, wow, it's really weird. There's so many 2022 themes coming up right now. For me personally, I've noticed. And when that occurs, when you start to notice a lot of situations or themes that return to you from another year very specifically, or another time, a lot of the time it has to do with the closing out of a timeline, the closing out of a theme that has to do with graduating into another timeline, as well as other things. But anyway, let's get into today's new moon energy and what it means for us as a collective and also individually. So I said in the beginning that it was kind of fitting that I didn't get around to recording yesterday, and the reason was I was just really exhausted, and time just didn't, my schedule yesterday didn't fully go the way I had originally planned, so I didn't get around to doing it, and by nightfall I was exhausted, and I decided not to push past that exhaustion but to honor my body and honor the season that I'm in right now, which I need a lot of rest and recovery right now with what it is I'm going through on a personal level. So I went to bed, and sure enough, the moon reached her fullness at exactly 3:21 this morning UK time, and like clockwork I opened my eyes 3:21, and I get up and I go to my computer and I see 3:21, and I'm just like, wow, it's the new moon. So I was literally up for when it happened, and I was musing on the energy, and I realized, wow, thinking about coming and sharing with you guys today, wow, this new moon is it's a lot of big themes, but one of them is about returning us back to order. Okay, so this new moon in Taurus is about returning us back into divine order. And every single thing that we're doing right now in terms of ascension and moving further forward into this new age of Aquarius is about the return of divine order. But there are certain energies and themes that magnify that truth. And this new moon in Taurus is definitely one of those times. So as such, anytime we are being challenged to go higher, there will always be conflicting energies and restrictions that want to come and bar our way. So one thing I was mentioning about the Scorpio energy that's very heavy and at play right now is that the Scorpio energy is not only about the transformation and the rebirth process, but it's also about us being born again based upon our ability to accept the wholeness of who we are. And the truth of the matter is that every energy that ever has existed, can exist, or will exist resides within us, whether we want to own it and claim it or not. And when we don't own it or claim it, we actually open our energy fields to be used by other external forces that have other purposes with our power and our life force, which is why it's really important that we claim all aspects of self and we don't reject or shame any part that makes us up. And the reality is that everything that exists in the cosmos is also a reflection of us, and we are a reflection of it. And this is all things, not some. And Scorpio teaches us how to delve in and to come to terms with this. Scorpio energy helps us to dive into our lower nature and to reclaim it, as well as the highest aspects of self, and claim those parts too. But the thing is, we cannot claim those highest aspects of self. We cannot claim to be divine and high frequency if we're not willing to go low and to deal with our shadows. And our shadows have a very real energetic mechanism in our fields, and that is our shadows are here to protect us and to regulate our egos. And our egos, I know we get a lot of flack in the spiritual community, and even recently I was having a conversation with my own soul, and my soul said it's time to stop saying that ego death thing. We're not trying to kill our ego, we're just trying to regulate it. We're trying to bring it back into submission to our truth. So whenever we live egoically, we either make ourselves out, we always make ourselves out to be something that we're not. Whether we're living in grandiose ideas and ideals, or we minimize ourselves. And the whole point is to live in our truth and to allow our ego to protect that truth, protect our power. In other words, we are all here to be God over self alone, not over anyone else. And when our egos get out of hand, then we open ourselves up to narcissistic tendencies, and on the higher end of the scale, full on, pathological narcissism. And we're all capable of those traits. And again, there's no energy that in and of itself is bad. It's how you utilize it to express, how you wield the power of it to bring yourself and situations into harmony. In other words, you are supposed to be full of yourself. I am supposed to be full of myself, but we're not supposed to be arrogant. And what I mean when I say full of self, I'm not talking about, the derogatory term that we've been taught, but the truth of the matter is the false matrix constantly wanted us to be in this self-deprecating at best state and full-on self-rejection at worst, which means that the false matrix made us think that being full of ourselves, quote unquote, was bad. And the reason for that was that if we choose not to be full of the truth of who we are, then we are opening ourselves to be puppeteered by external energies and forces, programs, stories, and we are not being God over self. We are not in our I am truth, in our Aries energy. And in that place, what happens is the imbalance produces a victim-victimizer consciousness, whereby some beings can be full-on narcissists and control other beings' realities, and other beings cower under them and tend to be empaths, and both parties are involved in the game and are giving to the energy in some way. But the narcissistic templates that the false matrix was actually founded and built upon needed us in these various egoic states, so that we either thought too highly of ourselves or thought too little of ourselves. But really, it wasn't that we were the problem was that we were not connected to the truth of who we were at all. And we were wearing many different masks, even when we thought ourselves as being, down here, which is not the truth. We were wearing a mask. We were claiming a false narrative, a false identity, as I like to say, in order to keep us out of our truth and our power. But beings who also have a grandiose idea about who they are, or they take on these grandiose notions to cover up their own sense of shame. They also are, are living in false matrix identity. So it had us all living contrary to who we actually are, trapped very deeply in self-deception, not taking ownership for the fullness of who we are, and then assigning us various roles, right? And so the whole point of ascension is getting our egos back into check, because our ego, it is part of our God self also. We're not here to continually kill our ego, but we are here to tame it and bring it under the submission of the fullness of our true power, as opposed to using it to exercise a false sense of grandiosity. So this new moon in Taurus is all about bringing everything back in order, but beginning with ourselves. Now, the Taurus energy connects us to what we call the Taurus field. It's spelled a little bit different, Taurus. Your Taurus field is your biofield. And the Taurus, or the toroidal energy that flows around the entirety of your body, right, and goes out infinitely, it also is a reflection of a toroidal field that exists in every unit of life. In other words, every single cell that makes you up also has a toroidal field that is connected to your grand Taurus energy, and therefore your Taurus energy is very interconnected to speaking to your cells, and therefore your cells take in that information and know how to also respond. Your cells are are sentient, right? And so your Taurus field is a collection of many things, but you can think about it as, if we're looking at it from the electromagnetic standpoint, it's the frequency you emit based upon a few things. Based upon who you are energetically, but also based upon your ability to express that. And you express that by way of your mental and your emotional energy, what you think about yourself, and the corresponding emotions that set those thoughts going to bring forth the momentum that then brings a material reality. So the Taurus, a Taurus season, and anytime we're dealing with fixed sign energy, whether it's Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, and this year, even the 2024, the tarot energies of the year are of Leo and Aquarius, and then the numerology is that of Scorpio. So a very heavy fixed sign year, which speaks to the fact that we are establishing a new order. And so with the Taurus, the new moon in Taurus being the first new moon of the astrological year in one of the fixed signs, this is definitely a moon that is bringing in this sense of order. Okay, so we lost our wisdom concerning who we are through the false matrix's programs and through entering into the false matrix. And through this new moon, we are also, if we're open, receiving a higher ability to reconnect with that truth. So like I was saying before, we are electromagnetic beings, and we are also holographic beings. And that means that everything that we see externally is always a reflection of our internal settings. Not always our internal truth, but what our internal settings are. And the false matrix knew this, which is why they were the architects of the false matrix and the perpetuators of its design were very, very obsessed with keeping us stuck in trauma cycles and loops, because they were very aware of how our energy works. And that is that we are always producing externally a reflection of what is going on internally. Okay, so for example, those of us who have been severely traumatized and carry a lot of that stagnant energy in our fields found it exceptionally hard to break out of karmic cycles, to even be able to begin to see them, to break out of them, and then even to do the work that was necessary to recalibrate our mental and emotional fields back into a place of alignment where we were connecting with our true divine story, as opposed to all the ways the abuse and trauma had programmed us out of our value. And that is because the density of unprocessed emotions weighs down the light body and messes up the electromagnetic settings, meaning that we start to call in the very energies that we're housing or harboring. And if we've been through a lot of trauma, and we have a lot of woundedness, and we have a lot of neediness, or whatever was produced in you by way of the trauma cycle, because you're an electromagnetic being, whatever that produced, you were calling in more of, even though that wasn't your intention, I'm sure. But that's how we are energetically constructed. We always call in more of what is going on with our internally, and there's a very real very real reason for that mechanism, and that is that when we are producing something externally based upon our internal reality, we are operating on kind of a feedback loop, meaning that what is going on internally in our mental and emotional spaces, as well as our spiritual, what's happening in the spiritual, is always playing out for us in the 3D to see. But if we're not told that's what's happening, and then we're programmed further to believe that, to not know anything about who we are as spiritual beings, and to believe that the way we shift our reality is by doing everything external, then we're just stuck creating the same thing again and again, and getting more frustrated, and therefore creating more trauma. When the reality is, whenever we have wanted to shift our external realities, what we needed to do was face up to what was happening in our internal settings. Where had we been tuned out of our spiritual story? Because you have a spiritual truth, but then you also have beings tampering with your spiritual reality and creating all manner of spiritual fuckery, right? And this is what the spell casting was about, that they then get you to attach your mental energy to through your programming. So this is why I say to many of you, especially those of you who join me over on Solara Speaks, when a person tries to send you a spell or an attack, it can't do anything to you if you're not already housing the mental and the emotional energies that spell needs to feed in order to grow in your reality and materialize. In other words, no one can send you a spell that tries to render you completely, to play with your money, for example, if you don't already have very powerful lack narratives that you are unconsciously very connected or even bound to on a mental and an emotional level. So when beings tamper with your spiritual settings, they also need you to agree with what it is that they are enacting on a mental and emotional level. which, you know, I'm not going to get into. I talk about that a lot on Solaris Speaks and have done so in the past. But it's important for you to know this, because that's how you work in terms of how energies move through the planes. So if you have a true spiritual story and you connect to that with your thoughts and your feelings, and you're able to produce that on the earth planes. And that is the point of what we're here to get back to, because the false matrix was an inversion whereby we were living, everything was back to front, and that was based upon the spell work and the programming and your forgetfulness. Okay, so we're flipping all that back the right way around. And even when I woke up this morning, and I was lying in bed and I was just kind of meditating on the day and what this new moon energy meant a couple of hours into the day now. And I just feel like the tables have been fully turned. Energetically speaking, this ascension is done. And it's not done in the sense that we don't have a lot still to go through, but it's done in the sense that what it is it came to accomplish in terms of wiping out certain energies, it has been accomplished for as long as now we continue to do the work to clear whatever densities would continue to keep us mentally and emotionally from actualizing our truth. Okay, so the Taurus energy is also very connected to the systems and the institutions and the traditions that have upheld the fuckery, but also the systems, the new systems, institutions, and traditions that are rising in order to reinstate divine order. So that comes through the Taurus energy also. Taurus is about the establishing of energy. Okay, so whether it's the establishing of your own biofield, or it's the establishing of the systems, that the wider systems and networks that support the collective energy, that's what Taurus is about, which is why it's such a big emblem of bringing forth the shifts in this ascension through the North Node entering Taurus, but also through this new moon. So let's get into this and let's break this down. And before I forget, I do want to say that for those of you who are interested, I did do my regular collaboration with Demi Pietchell of the Starfire Codes. You can find that. I posted it, the link to it, on the community board last night when I knew I wasn't going to come on here, and I will post it also in the description box below, as well as in the comment section. And one more announcement that I neglected to share at the beginning. Please, if you are interested in the upcoming Tarot Astrology group Q&A for the month of May, that will be occurring on either the 25th or the 26th of May. I'm still kind of trying to decide. For those of you who are interested in attending, if you have a preference of it being either Saturday the 25th or Sunday the 26th of May, drop your comments below, and I'm going to be deciding in the next, day or two. And I'm recording this on Wednesday the 8th of May. So by Friday the 10th of May, I would have posted what it is I'm doing as far as the Tarot Astrology group Q&A. This month I'm keeping it open. So last month I focused on the energy of Mars. This month I am limiting it to just 10 people. I've had 2 rounds of doing the Tarot Astrology group Q&As at this point, and I'm getting a better feel for my own energetic output as well as what is good for the group, because I do a lot of channeling in those sessions. And so I'm limiting it to 10 people. Okay, so it tends to be about a 3 to 4 hour session, and within that time I will go into the chart of every single person there, and I will channel one of your placements. If we get around to doing a little bit more, then yes, we might get into it. And Tarot Astrology on an individual level is about reconnecting you to your cosmological blueprint, your truth, who you are, what it is you came here to do, and how you're expressing that through your astrology. I do some Akashic energy reading through that, but only what is open to me by way of the information presented in your chart. So I use tarot, channeling, your Akasha, your astrology, numerology, in order to give you a picture of who you are. Not who the false matrix told you you are, but who you are, why you're here, etc. So that's what I do in the group Q&A also. I want to open up that service to make it more accessible to more people, but I also do it on a personal one-to-one level, whether it's one-to-one video call, audio, or a video that I will send you as a link. So you can check out all that information if you're interested in getting your own personal tarot astrology on my website. But if you're interested in joining me for the Tarot Astrology group Q&A, then I will be posting all that information on the community board. I will also be making announcements on my other channels, Substack, as well as my channel Solara Speaks and Daily Alchemy with Solara. So make sure to put in the comment section below if you're interested what day you have in terms of preference, Saturday or Sunday. And again, we're keeping it only to 10 people this month. What else? I think that's it when it comes to the announcements. Let me get into this now. So when the moon entered into its newness, it was 18 degrees Taurus. So the sun and moon met earlier on today at 18 degrees Taurus. Now 18 is a number that connects us to the moon, right? In the tarot, it's the number 18 card is the moon card. So there's a few things I'm picking up here, which I'll get into shortly, but the 18 also connects us to Virgo energy. It is astrologically a degree of Virgo, right? And then the 18 further on breaks down to a 9, which is Virgo energy again. Sagittarius astrologically, but we've got, you know, this Virgo theme coming through. And the Virgo energy is what begins to establish the Taurus energy in many ways. So your Taurus energy is about your divine net worth and your value. And that's really always going to be determined by you. You have a true divine net worth, but you also have a net worth that you put out into the world based upon what you believe about yourself. And that's how you project your frequency and what is going on internally, etc. But Taurus is what connects us with that, and then Virgo is what allows us to learn how to move in that energy, learn how to create the structures, the schedules, the routines that support our ability to show up in our value and to be appreciated in our value. And when I say appreciation, I am talking about beings valuing you, but also growing you. Okay, so Virgo is very concerned with how we broker our value. And Taurus is about connecting us to the higher truth of our value. And it gets a lot of help from Aries in that regard. Aries is what connects us to our I am truth, who we are divinely, our divine identity. And then Taurus gives us the resources to match based upon what we want to believe about ourselves. Okay, so the 18 degree mark is the 6 of Pentacles. So we've got the Hierophant and the Empress are the cards of Taurus in the major arcana, but the minor arcana Taurus energy, that is the 18 degree mark, is the 6 of Pentacles. Now the 6 of Pentacles is the minor arcana Justice card. It's all about bringing back balance, equal give and take. It's about bringing back order, right? It's also about justice to a certain extent too, because justice is simply about order. There's a cause and an effect, and based upon the decision that we make, there is a balancing that occurs, there's a shuffling that occurs, and that's what it feels like has been happening through this window also. Kind of a reshuffling in the background is taking place energetically. So with the Hierophant and the Empress, this is all about birthing, rebirth, the rebirthing of beauty in our lives and in our collective truth. We have lost so much access to living beautifully because we were living in we were living contrarily to our truth. And the reality is that we are all beautiful in our own rights. We don't need the matrix, the false matrix, to tell us what the standard of beauty is. It is you. And when you are with the right beings, when you are in the right company, then the beings that you're choosing to be around are seeing the beauty and the value in you, and are helping you to magnify that in your own reality and in your life. Because when we are able to connect with our own beauty, and we are able to magnify our own beauty, our own internal beauty, our soulful beauty, not just our physical beauty, then we are able to increase the beauty in the world. So everyone's taste is different, and that doesn't change. What is beautiful to me might not be beautiful to you. To some, I might be gorgeous. To others, I might be a troll, and it doesn't matter. It would both things would be true to those beings, because it's a matter of taste, right? And that's fine. But what the false matrix promoted, which wasn't okay, was a constant need for us to try to push a certain ideal and then to reject those that didn't fit that ideal. And that's bullshit, because everything was created as a reflection of Source, as a reflection of God. And as such, everything is beautiful. Everything has beauty. And the right being, if you are aligned with the right beings, they find your beauty, they find your value, and they help you to magnify that. In the false matrix, we were dealing with a lot of toxic relationships and codependency, and many beings, all of us, were doing it in our woundedness. We were tearing one another down, trying to get things from beings through manipulation, all manner of things. And we weren't doing it consciously, most of us, but we were still all involved in those games, because we didn't know how to properly negotiate our value and our power. And we were also shut off from our divine truth and the ability to properly know how to wield our electromagnetic bodies to call in what we wanted and to push out that which didn't connect with our beauty. And that's what it kind of, this new moon is a big one for helping us to establish the boundaries around what we allow in our lives. And I'm not just talking about people, I'm talking about the day-to-day, because remember, Virgo is underpinning this energy, and Taurus is very connected to Venus, but with this 18-degree energy connecting us to the moon card in the tarot, which is another divine feminine emblem, you know, it's really about that return to divine feminine order, divine feminine wisdom, the divine feminine seasons and cycles that actually promote our ability to flourish. So when you think about, you know, how we're supposed to honor the seasons in terms of how we can produce on the land. So, you know, quite often the winter time is a time where the land should be left alone. And the springtime is when we plant seeds, and the summertime is when those seeds begin to bear, you know, to flower and bear fruit. And in the autumn time is when we collect that harvest and allow the land to rest again so she can continue to produce. Now, that's the general idea when it comes to, you know, the land, especially in the northern hemisphere. Well, no, this is everywhere, because we're talking seasons, not, yeah. Ignore what I just said. But we all also, and I was talking about this in one of my readings recently on Solar Speaks, we all have our own internal clocks. We have many clocks that we connect to, you know, collectively, especially like when you think about the seasons, you know, summer, autumn, winter, and spring. We connect to clocks like that. We connect to the clocks of, you know, the hours of the day. Our bodies have a body clock. In other words, you know, like right now the sun is getting ready to set, and so if the sun is setting where you are, your melatonin levels are going up. They're about to reach their peak in a couple of hours, and your cortisol levels are going down, right? Or they should be if you are in if those things are balanced in your reality. And that's because the melatonin helps you to rest and go to sleep, puts your body in deeper parasympathetic mode, your nervous system, and the cortisol will start to rise again around 3 or 4 in the morning, closer, well, it depends on when the sun is rising where you are. Cortisol starts to begin to rise up again so that you wake up naturally and your nervous system can move slightly out of parasympathetic mode to assist you rising up and waking up refreshed, right? So that's just one internal clock mechanism that is happening in your body. These things are constantly occurring, and then because we're all individual, our biochemistry is different. The way we react to things is going to be different based upon our own preference, based upon our own experiences, based upon our emotional history. We respond to things completely differently, and that also creates a structure or a rhythm that we need to honor. So while some beings might do well on 5 hours of sleep, some people need 10, and there's nothing wrong with either or. It's what you need at any given time or season in your life to show up and to be your best. And that's all. When we are walking in divine alignment, that's the heart of the Divine Mother. It's not to push you, but for you to show up in the world and to be who you are and to do it well and to have everything that you need to show up in the world and to be yourself and to do that well. And this is what the Taurus energy connects us to. And the fact that the 18-degree mark, that moon energy, that Virgo energy also, it's really we're honing in even more on returning to honoring those natural rhythms, seasons, cycles we need on a very personal and intimate level in order to thrive. And everything about the false matrix taught us at every turn to go against that. And this is why I'm saying, like last night, once upon a time, I would have pushed past what my own body was telling me, what my own mind was telling me. I was mentally exhausted also, but because I knew it was the new moon, I need to get it out, yada, 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 I would have really pressured myself. And I felt bad even going to bed, and I was like, I should just do it just so I don't feel bad going to bed, and I don't wake up feeling bad in the middle of the night. And I went to bed, and I felt a little bit bad, and I woke up, and I forgot about it come the new moon, and that's how I began to realize, wow, everything is supporting our ability right now to honor our own natural rhythms. There's so much stress upon us as individuals and as a collective to adhere to these schedules that for some of us are unnatural. For some beings, they thrive in those kinds of schedules, but they're not for everyone. And so it's really important that we learn how to be so deeply in tune with our own internal cycles so that we are able to create more beauty in our realities, produce more beauty, and therefore connect to more beauty because we're calling it in. Okay, so this is the caliber, I guess you could say, of divine order that this new moon is calling back. It's calling back that intricate connection we have with our own selves as well as with the earth, in order that we reinstate those principles that help us to treat ourselves, one another, and the earth in the sacred uniqueness in which we're here and in which our divine Father and Mother see us. Like when you're a parent, and you have, multiple children or more than one, that there are many similarities in raising children, but no child is the same. And if we're doing our job as parents and we are always taking that into allowance, we're thinking about the temperament of this child. How will this one respond to this? How will this one? And we learn how to, or we do our best to try and communicate to our children in the way that speaks to them. You know, like even this idea of having a love language. Everyone's love language is different. The ways that we relate, the ways that we connect, the ways that we communicate, the ways that we internalize, it's going to be different, which is why it's so important that we line up with people who are a frequential match, because when we are dipping into frequencies that we're not in alignment with, this is where we get confusion, this is where we get miscommunication, because we're not on the same wavelength, we're not on the same frequency. And then this is where beings try to then tune into that narcissistic approach of trying to change other people, because it's not what makes them feel comfortable, and that's not how it's supposed to be. That actually opens the door to suffering. That inflicts suffering on another being, because you make them feel as if they're lacking something, when really they lack for nothing. You're just not, you don't complement each other. You know, and this is a really hard thing for many beings to grasp. This is a really hard thing for many beings to grasp. Sorry. This is a really hard thing for many beings to grasp, because we've been programmed into these codependent states of thinking we're supposed to bend backwards to be liked by people, or we're supposed to try harder to make people like us, or to make them feel more accepted, and all of that stuff. And I'm not saying we don't put in effort, but I am saying we're not here to turn ourselves into pretzels. We're here to be who we are and stand in that truth, and to allow beings who are vibing with us, who fuck with us on that level, to come towards us, and for us to magnify one another's greatness. We're not here to try to make things work, force things to work by making people be what they're not, or making ourselves be who and what we're not to make other people feel better. That ship has sailed. That's some bullshit. It's over with. It's done. And many people, that rattles them, because some beings just feel they should have access to everyone, and they should have an opinion in how everyone does everything. And that's not the truth. That's not the truth. You're welcome to your opinion about a person, but you don't need to bring it to them. You just don't. If you don't like them, then keep it moving. There's no need to try to rain on someone else's parade, because they're not the way you want them to be. You know, so this new moon in Taurus is also, bringing a smack down on that narcissistic ass behavior. And I've been, seeing that occurring, not only, in my life, my comment section for one thing here, and on Solar Speaks this Taurus season, but even hearing it from other people speaking about it, that, and this is again, is that energy of Scorpio. Beings don't like to deal with their shadows. And when you don't deal with your shadow, you will project your shit onto other people. And there's a lot of shadow slinging that occurs in Taurus season, but then there's a lot of beings trying to put the lockdown on other people's self-expression. Throat chakra police, I call them. They don't like the way you speak. They don't like the way you present yourself. They don't like the way you show up. And instead of going along with their own business and finding the beings that they do like, they try to come in and either make you feel bad or try to change you. And it's just like, I'm not here to serve you. Oh, did you think I was boo-boo? Did you think I was here to be what you need me to be? No, how about you go back and be who you need you to be, and then you won't have an issue with other people doing the same. Because that energy is over. It's what kept the narcissistic cycles and templates of the false matrix alive and blazing. There's people have so many prejudices and wounds that unconsciously propel them, and they're not even aware, because they don't want to own that part of themselves. They don't want to see themselves in a certain light, and so they don't go there. But that kind of thing, it can't be hidden anymore. It can't be hidden anymore, right? So yes, let's move it along, because we're 43 minutes in. Mercury it's at 22 degrees now, but it was at 21 degrees Aries when the moon hit her newness. And Mercury is in Aries, helping to light the way forward, but also helping to slam the door shut on some of these ego stories. These, or I shouldn't say, these imbalanced egoic stories. So, like I said, Aries energy connects us to the truth of ego. And when we are living out of alignment, then we are expressing ego in imbalanced and sometimes harmful, oftentimes harmful ways. And the false matrix really exploited and promoted our ability to do that, for better or for worse. So this Mercury in Aries at 21 degrees is kind of having a conversation with us on how to shut that shit down. And, as I wrote on my other community board on Solar Speaks a few days ago, I said, that some beings need to starve their shadows and some of them need to give their shadow a meal. This is kind of like learning how to rise back into the state that your ego needs by knowing when it needs to diet and knowing when it needs to feast. And some of you have been so trodden down and silenced and shamed and ridiculed out of your power and your truth that you need to rise into some fiery energy and go tell some beings to go fuck themselves. That's been an ongoing narrative, is silencing you, squashing you, doing things to try to get you to back into a corner, or get you to acquiesce with someone else's narrative that they need you to play a certain role in to keep that fake narrative alive. But that's not your role. That is an an abomination. It is an abomination before your creator to play a part in someone else's script when you were created in your own reality to be the starring role. It's an insult to who you are and where you actually came from to actually succumb and acquiesce to that kind of energy. And they knew this in the false matrix, which is exactly why they had all of the rituals they had. They knew exactly how to call in these energies collectively, tie us in, bind us to spells through these like public humiliation rituals that some of you were a part of and you weren't even aware you were a part of it. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But Mercury is showing us how to shut that shit down, how to rise into our Aries energy if we have to, and also how to temper that Aries energy too if we need to. But from the majority of you watching, it's learning how to rise into that Aries energy after having had your fire stifled for so long. Okay, so Mercury in the tarot is the Magician. Aries is both the Fool and the Emperor. 21 is a degree of Sagittarius. So this is about liberating your fire, liberating your truth, liberating your divine authority over yourself, breaking out of the cycles where you were not free to be who you are. Last week, I was lying down in bed. It was the end of the day, and all of a sudden, I felt like, wow, I can breathe again. I can breathe. I was so conscious of my breathing, and the reason for that is that as a child I was so thoroughly traumatized, especially through the education system, that I found, and I didn't know how to stop, but I found myself holding my breath a lot of the time in the company of certain beings, or wherever I went out and about. And it got really bad when I was like 18 or 19. I'd have full-on panic attacks when I would exit my house, and a lot of it, I didn't realize at the time, was down to the fact that I'd get around people and I'd hold my breath because I had been taught through all the bullying and all the disrespect and all of the narcissistic abuse. I'd been taught that I was a burden, that I wasn't important, and I'd been taught to constantly try to minimize, shrink myself, and even feel like I didn't have a right to exist. Okay, so when I stand here before you and I tell you all the things I tell you now, the battles I've had to overcome to sit here and to even speak to you right now, you have no fucking idea. So when a being comes to me at this point and tries to tamper with what it is I've had to fight for as if it's nothing, I do not play. I will not play anymore. I will not be altered, tailored, silenced, pushed in a corner because of someone else's wounding that they don't want to see. Fuck that. Okay? And that's what this Mercury and Aries energy is helping us to do. Mercury is also helping you to learn how to express your fire. Okay? Some of us have been through some really shitty things, and we have a right to our anger. And we've been taught to stuff it down and to repress it. And then you get into spirituality and you have all of this fucking spiritual bypassing where you're told that you need to act a certain way. And everything's about behavior modification instead of learning how to wield the power of your fire, your air, your water, your earth, your ether. To wield the power of your darkness and your light, your masculine and your feminine, all of the dual energies that when you know how to wield them in accordance with who you are and your situation, they harmonize you perfectly. And for as long as you are repressing, ignoring, denying any aspect of those energies, you are actually promoting your own discord. Right? So the spiritual community is really great for trying to tell people not to suppress their anger. Oh, transmute it for other people. Oh, send them love and light. Fuck that shit. Sometimes you need to go and tell people where they can go. You need to shock the shit out of them so that they know, listen, I'm not one for you to play with. I'm not going to play with you because guess what? I see your value. But if you come to me and you try to devalue me because you don't see your own value, I don't think so. That's a lesson too. They are opening the door to their own karmic suffering, trying to fuck around and pull someone else down. They opened that door. And you can sure as fuck be the one to close it. Help them to close it. Slam it on them. It's okay to offend another person. It's not your nature to try and go after beings and offend them, but beings who try to come after you and offend you or do stupid shit, call them out on it. Don't sit there and take it. If you want to transmute it, transmute it. Some people like to go that route. I don't do it anymore. I spent so much of my life taking other people's shit and not knowing how to transmute it. Some beings I will transmute, and at the end of the day, it's all love. Even when I tell a person to go fuck themselves, I will also send them love because I still do love them, But I will tell certain aspects of myself what to do with themselves too, because we're not here to tolerate things that try to bring us down. That part of myself that wants to tell me, you can't do it. Oh, no. Be in victim consciousness today. I sometimes have to go and tell that aspect of myself. But who you think you're talking to right now? Go take several seats. No. Go take several seats. Conference call is over. Okay? And that's just the truth. Truth, Ruth. Okay? That's the truth. Anyway, 21 degrees Aries. This is 4 of Wands energy. So again, establishing 4 of Wands, that's all about the establishment of a new spiritual story. I just heard a new spiritual authority. The establishing of a new spiritual authority, a new spiritual story in your life. So like I said, Aries energy is how you begin to connect with your truth, your I am truth. But in order to do that, you must connect with your true spiritual story and get past all of the spiritual fuckery and lies that other beings in the false matrix wanted you connecting your mental energy to, so that you're no longer creating falsity. You're no longer living also in any forms of self-deception and therefore producing suffering. When we live in self-deception, we will produce suffering, because our souls will allow that to happen. It's a mechanism within our souls. Our souls will allow it to happen so that we come back into our power and we come back into truth. Because, like I said in one of my readings the other day, we are not here to suffer. We were not sent here to suffer. Suffering was a mechanism that was put into place when when we moved out of alignment with where it was we were supposed to be, so we knew to come back on track. Suffering is what we enter into not only when we move away from self, but when we move away from source. It's a way to let us know, uh-oh, wrong direction, took a wrong turn, turn around and go back, or the GPS at the next left, turn around and take a right, and you get redirected, right? If you can't turn around, you get redirected to get you back on track. That's a part of your electromagnetic GPS system. Uh-oh, this don't feel good. Okay, there's something that's amiss here. Let me figure this out. Does it not feel good because I have to push past something that I need to push past because it's barring me out? Or does it not feel good because I'm not supposed to be here? Like, you have to make that decision. You have to trust yourself to discern properly why the suffering is there. But the suffering is there because somehow you have veered off course. Okay? And here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with a karmic lesson. Karmic lessons is how we learn. So we're not supposed to be afraid of them when we're not going out there trying to purposely hurt other beings. But you should know that you go too far off track and you open the door all the way to suffering. It's your soul showing you, come back online, come back to mama, come back to source. You done wander too far off the track of where you're not supposed to be. And that's for every level of consciousness, every being. Okay, so I won't get into that right now. But 21 degrees, the Four of Wands, is also connected to the World card, which is why I'm speaking about the closing of a chapter, closing of these egoic energies that want to run the show, and bringing the ego truly back into its place of authority, right? It is a place, we're to put our egos in a place of authority, but we're not to live in the imbalance states of too much ego or too little ego, depending on how you want to look at it. I was getting something else through here. What was it? Maybe it will come back. The world. Anyway, Venus and Taurus. So Venus was in Taurus at 10 degrees. Venus, of course, is the Empress. Taurus, Hierophant, and the Empress. 10-degree mark of Taurus is right between the 5 and the 6 of Pentacles. It's the doorway out of the 5 of Pentacles and into the 6 of Pentacles. 10 is connected to Capricorn. Astrologically, it's a Capricorn degree. It's also the Wheel of Fortune in the tarot. Okay, so this is all about us being able to materialize new stories of, it's all about us being able to materialize a new story. But what it is that we are calibrating our fields to shut down what promoted lack in order to bring forth justice, but also what promotes our wealth, our health, our vitality, our well-being, our comfort. Don't forget that Taurus is very concerned also with your comfort. Taurus likes comfort, likes beauty, likes elegance, likes to be well-fed, likes to sleep, and connected with that Virgo energy, the Virgo degree of where the moon was when she became new. It's all about the return to living that way. Like I said, you didn't come here to suffer, but if you want to learn how to tune into creating more beauty for yourself, you must know thyself, and you must know your own cycles, and you must honor them in spite of what the intimidation that comes from other external energies, including those dying programs of the false matrix that still have their death grip on us, that want to keep on pulling us down or to come back to life. You know, and it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing for me. I told y'all my story. It's hard, you know, like not my story, but my example from last night. It's a difficult thing when you've been trained to believe that you only get a certain place by working this amount of time, and you're supposed to grind, and you're supposed to hurt yourself in order to succeed. And if you don't, then you're not doing anything. You're lazy. You're this, you're that. All of the fucked up programming, abusive narratives and programming that were designed to cause us to self-destruct. And for what? For paper that no longer exists, and zeros and ones that aren't even real. Some fucker could just be making that shit up. For what? That's what we were killing ourselves for. That's what we've been killing ourselves for. You know, no more of that. You're worth more. If you took all the gold that exists on the earth, you'd still be worth more. In the eyes of the divine, you would still be worth more. And the false matrix done sold you a story that was designed to get you to kill yourself for something that, like, nothing is really worth it. But really, for that? To kill yourself and to hurt other beings and to kill other people and to all of that shit. And Venus is here being like, it's time. It's time for a new story. It's time for those lack narratives to leave. It's time for a new sense of justice. It's time for a calibration of your wheel back into its true divine state. It's time for a calibration of your wheel back into what produces beauty for you, you know? Mars in Aries. I love that Venus is in Taurus and Mars is in Aries. And I will often say it doesn't matter what your beliefs are about where things are astronomically, because even though technically, if you looked up at the sky, the sun and the moon were probably in Aries earlier on today and not Taurus, the stories that are coming through are still the same, because Aries and Taurus energy, especially at this time of ascension, are working very, very closely together, and always do, but especially right now, are working very, very closely together to return us to our divine truth. You know, so whether you tune into the sun and the moon in Aries, and even when you look at today's chart, everything is about this Aries-Taurus dance, and then we've got some smattering of Pisces and a little bit of Aquarius. So it's all the first few signs, the first two signs of the zodiac and the last two signs of the zodiac. They're all here. You can see there are beginnings and endings. The last two signs on the zodiac wheel and the first two signs. We are wrapping shit up rapidly now, and we are establishing the new order. So Mars in Aries. Mars loves being in Aries. This is like divine masculine stand up. The divine masculine energy within you and the divine masculine collective. Stand up. It's time. You know, Mars is a warring energy, but Mars is also, because it's a warring energy, it's a strategist. So Mars knows also when to bring peace. And I really do feel like, even though Mars is in Aries right now, it's showing us how to defend ourselves. Our natural defense mechanisms are coming back into place, especially in our electromagnetic fields. Those beings that dare to try to trespass into our frequency and we know they don't belong, we're going to roar at them, and they better back the fuck up, because guess what? Your own frequency should have told you you were out of bounds. So right now is a time to, like, take no shit from beings who want to trespass into our fields, but from a place of true authority. That is true. But the overall energy I'm really feeling more than anything is that this is because peace and harmony are being reestablished. And for peace and harmony to be reestablished, then we got to be in situations with beings where peace and harmony rule and where it can grow and proliferate. And so we're protecting that peace. We're protecting that harmony. harmony. We've had to work hard. Like I said to you, if y'all knew what I had to do to sit before you now and to be able to speak in the way I speak, the hurdles I've had to overcome externally, but most importantly, internally. We fought for our place. We fought to get back to the state of remembering who we are. And damn it, nobody's going to come in and try to steal the spoils of our victory when they haven't. Either they were in a different war or they don't belong, with our, what's it called, like our regiment. It's not happening. So Mars and Aries at 5 degrees. Mars is the tower. Bring in the noise, bring in the funk. Mars is the tower. Aries is, again, the Fool and the Emperor. The 5 degree mark is the Two of Wands. This is putting a flag down. That's what I just saw. Putting a flag down. Ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived into the new cycle. We've arrived into the new earth. Put the flag down. Putting the flag there to let you know this is our territory now. You may come if you are a frequential match. If you come in here trying to force your way into my frequency, then you will see me rise and roar because, damn it, I had to fight to get here, let alone to put this flag here. I had to fight for that. What do you think this is? Anyway, 5 degrees is a degree of Leo, right? So this is all about the right to shine. It's like, even when I was, connecting with my breath last week, like I was sharing with you guys, where I kept on feeling like it's safe to breathe again. It's safe to breathe again. It's safe to be me again. It's safe. For a really long time on this planet, it wasn't safe for you to be yourself. It wasn't safe for you to connect with who you are divinely. It wasn't safe for you to express it. At every turn, there was a mechanism to make you fear it, to make you feel uncomfortable in it. And now when those old mechanisms start to rise, you say, you grab the head of that thing that's trying to make you feel unsafe in yourself and unsafe in your own expression and unsafe in your own power. You take the head of that thing and you're just like, you push it out. What the fuck are you doing? Do you know how long I haven't felt safe being who I am? And now that we've arrived, you want to come and act as if you still have some kind of sway or control or say? I don't think so. Okay? I don't think so. So, that's the Mars. And that's the Leo energy, the right to shine. Like Mars is like, fuck this. You have a right to be who you are. You were created in the image of the divine, and you have a right to express that part of the divine's nature. In fact, not only do you have a right, you have a duty. It's part of your soul's purpose, right? So, 555. That again is connected to the Hierophant card also. So this is speaking about the warring against the systems now that also would seek to come against your ability to be who you are. We're going to see, we've already seen a lot of that, but it's about to increase and ramp up, guys. Like we've already seen a lot of people stand up against these systems, traditions, that want to keep us living in ways that are detrimental, not even to just our souls, but to our own living bodies, and are constantly trying to keep us from expressing our individuality. There's going to be even more of uprising against that. Like, how dare you try to tell me how to be me? How fucking dare you try to tell me how to be me? Like you have any fucking idea. I'm sorry. Do you have my divine blueprint? Do you have access to my manual? Did you have the conversation with Source about who I was at the beginning of time? Or whenever it was I incarnated? Or I came into being? No, I don't think so. But you know who has that? You know who has the complete history of me across timelines, incarnations, realities across the cosmos. You know who does have the keys to that? Yeah, that would be right. Me. Me, myself, and I. Nobody else. Okay? So you remember that the next time somebody's trying to get you to be something you're not. That actually is anti-Christ. It goes against your own Christed nature, the rising of your Christed energy. It's dependent upon you being who you are and who Source said you are. And beings who have a problem with that have a very problem with who God says you are, who Source says you are, and tell them to go and take up that problem with Source. That's what you do, right? You grab that energy by the head and you push it out. I love Aries energy. Jupiter and Taurus at 25 degrees. Jupiter is the Wheel of Fortune. Taurus again is the Empress and the Hierophant. 25 degrees of Taurus is again the Six of Pentacles. 25 is a degree of Aries. Still coming through here, right? Degree of Aries. And yeah, it's a degree of Aries. Yeah. I was thinking of something else for a minute. This is also the return of, or the expansion of, the divine feminine intuitive energies of the planet coming back into the systems. So we might continue to see a grand expansion of things like through, for example, allopathic medicine, inviting more medical mediums, accepting more of this work of connecting with health, connecting with illness through intuition. That's just one example. It could work in all manner of industries. I'm just throwing that out there. But my point is that ability to connect to information intuitively that has been poo-pooed on because the matrix, the false matrix, wanted us so focused on science to the detriment of tuning into ourselves. And this isn't me poo-pooing on science. Science is great, but all science really does is prove what we've already known intuitively that they tried to tell us we were primitive for. So I don't even have words. Okay? So yes, Jupiter and Taurus at 25. This is about the expansion of a new consciousness in the systems. That's really what I'm getting. And it's the building of that right now through this new moon. Whew, I think I'm going to end there, guys. Saturn is still chilling in Pisces. Uranus, 22 degrees Taurus. That is, again, Uranus is putting down the new earth, financial contracts. Uranus is making sure that those are going into place through that 22 degree mark of Taurus. 22 is a degree of Capricorn. It has to do with the materialization of contracts, material contracts. And then, of course, Taurus has to do with our own resources, personal resources, and how we create a value system that then becomes our collective financial system. So we're doing a lot of that groundwork of creating a new earth financial reality, but it begins with creating a new sense of value within self. Because when we do that, then we are creating a completely new value system collectively. It's always begun with us and what we chose to consider as being valuable. We the false matrix and its obsession with money, brands, all manner of things. Those things were able to be of value and to accrue value because we permitted them to do that. We aligned ourselves with that fake value system. But what we're doing is we are materializing and creating something completely new in terms of it, the false matrix, it's new, but in terms of the original designs for how we were here to exchange energy and to be honored and rewarded in accordance with our own soul lessons, that's coming back online. Okay. And of course, since I last saw you guys, Pluto, sorry, it's a helicopter in the background. Pluto will wait till they pass. Since I last saw you, Pluto has gone into retrograde. It's a Pluto party. Pluto has gone into retrograde. Pluto is helping us to reconnect with certain things we need to know in order to properly establish some of these new energies of this new golden age. So Pluto is good for tearing things down slowly, building as it goes along, doing that. So so tearing down and building at the same time. And so it feels like we're going through right now a tearing down again. Now we've been dealing with a lot of the tearing down within ourselves. Now it feels like Pluto is here to help tear down within the collective energies, within the material realm, the things that must go. And that's in accordance with the work that we've been diligently doing internally as we tore down those programs and the shit that supported those programs internally. We were laying the groundwork for what's happening now in the collective energy. Okay, so this is really truly where I am going to end. As always, it's been a pleasure reading for you, sharing with you some of my downloads and insights, being a potty mouth, because I love to swear. You know, that's part of what keeps my frequency in check. You got to know thyself, right? There's nothing that's good or bad, just how you wield and use it, right? So if my swearing offends you, then you and I are not on the same frequency, and that's all good. That's all good. But anyway, what else? Yes, if you would like to work with me, then you can check out my website, solar.info. If you'd like to join me on Substack, where I write, you know, like maybe 6 days a week on the energies, my own experiences with, you know, how I got here, but also my own experiences with how I am dealing with the energies. I also write a little bit about that on Substack too. I also do some poetry. I do a word for your week where I break down the week ahead energies. I have a monthly Q&A meetup for my annual and monthly patrons over at Substack. So if you feel like that would be a good support for your journey, I will put the information to that below. What else? Thank you to those of you who have been donating to my work and to my channel. It really does help me to show up here and to do what it is I came here to do. And so I really do appreciate all of the ways that you guys sow into me. For those of you who would like to donate to myself or the channel, you can do so through my PayPal or my Ko-Fi. And I will put that information in the description box and the comment section below. What else? I think that's it. For all information on how to book for the Tarot Astrology Group Q&A and any of the other May events, which will also be posted on the community board, please keep your eyes open on all my channels, on all my platforms. I will post it here though for those of you who are just on Solar Rises. Okay, I think that's it. I'm sending you guys so much love, so much new moon love. This new moon is incredible. It's incredible. I don't know if you feel the energy of, it's like war is over. You know, war is over, and that doesn't mean we're not still fighting, but it just means that we've reached a certain point where there's no going back to the false matrix. Yes. So I will see you guys again for the full moon in Sagittarius. And if you're over on Solara Speaks, I will see you much sooner. Take care.